Hey everybody, Spencer here, back for pen chat number 5. Um, Beautiful day, beautiful Saturday here in upstate South Carolina. I got some good weather, a little warm. High of 80 today. I don't think it hit that, but so for that reason I've got two big rocks because I don't know, I tend to ramble in these things, so we might be going 25-30 minutes. Um, Watching Ole Miss Georgia through the window. It's appears to be 28-27 maybe. Start of the third quarter. So try to wrap this up quickly so I can go catch the rest of it. Anywho, pen chat number 4, I did scaling up your collection. So I went through kind of my personal history with fountain pens and from my first pen to my most recent acquisition, and just kind of went through my own scaling up of my collection. Today I'm going to focus on one brand, my favorite brand, Pilot. So I've got 3 Pilot pens I'm going to compare and talk about, try to give you just my perspective on the 3. My wife is watching me through the window. I feel awkward now. Not watching like creepy way, just observing. Anywho, there's a lot worse things I could be doing, right, than talking about pens on YouTube. Anywho, so I have 3 Pilot pens. They're 3 of my favorite pens that I've ever owned. I try to keep my collection fairly small. I try to keep it somewhere around 5 or 6 pens, no more than that. If I get above that, I'll sell some pens. But then I have my kind of core group that I'll never sell. I have Mont Blanc that was a gift that I'll never sell. Love that pen. And then these 3 Pilots are 3 that I don't ever see myself getting rid of. They all have their own different use case and purpose for me. They all have their own role that they fill. So yeah, we're going to talk about these. So enjoy. All right, I forgot to mention the bourbon of the day. Got some Eagle Rare. Let me adjust this camera. Eagle Rare. Can't go wrong. I made this little rocks glass koozie. It's a good thing to do if you have extra patches, or those patches that you see in those little shops and you're like, who buys those? Me. And I use them for this. So anyways, first pen that we're going to talk about today is the Pilot Custom 823. I've talked about this before on my channel. The Pilot 823 is, I think, the best pen for most people. It is a great size, got a great grip section that I'll talk about, large ink capacity, good weight, good feel in the hand, and the nib is just absolutely perfect. Wouldn't change a thing about it. It's super smooth. This is a medium. I've had an 823 in fine. I sold it. Didn't like it as much. I mean, the medium is just, it's perfect because, I mean, it's a Japanese nib, tends to run a little bit finer anyways. So let's see. First, we can talk about the size. So looking at about, I believe it's about 20 grams uncapped. Now I'll say too, I don't ever post my pens, so I don't really care about the cap weight. I just care about the unposted weight, and I don't mind, kind of girthier, heavier pens, but this is just, it's great. It's light with a full ink fill, probably about 25 grams, maybe a little bit less. You've got a resin body. You've got the classic cigar shape. Grip section. It's very very comfortable. Has a slight flare, fairly thin, but there's just a very comfortable spot to grip this pen. Filling system. It's a vac filler. So you unscrew the blind cap here, pull the plunger out, submerge in the ink, push the plunger down, wait a second or two, Wait for that ink to fill up. And then to get a full fill, you usually get about half to about 3/4 fill with that method. And then I like to flip it upside down, pull the plunger back out, push the plunger up. So you kind of want to tap the barrel a little bit, get the ink down to the bottom. And then while you're holding it straight up, push the plunger up very slowly, wait for that ink to rise up until you don't see it anymore and it's in the section. And then you'll flip the pen upside down, keeping your finger on the plunger, and push in. Submerge back in the ink and push in. And you'll typically get a full fill with that. I'm not a physicist, so I don't know how that works, but it works. There's an old YouTube video about that. I actually did one a long time ago. So with a full fill, you can get about 2.6 to 2.75 milliliters of ink. That's a lot of ink. Standard converter is usually about 1 to 1.3. Cartridge about 1.4. So you get a good amount of ink. I mean, you can write for a long time. One thing some people complain about is that if you are, because it's a vac filler and you've got an O-ring here that seals down when you screw this blind cap back in. So you've got all your ink here in this section and in the feed, and that will dry out eventually, and then you need to unscrew the back, let that ink flow back into the section, and you can continue writing with it open, or you can reclose it, whatever you want to do. I have actually removed the O-ring, the front O-ring out of this, the piston assembly. So I don't have to do that. I don't really fly that much with it, although I do have a flight this week, so I'll probably put it back in. Nib characteristics. So you've got the Pilot number 15 nib, which, it's 14 karat gold. It's really smooth, very precise. Never once has this pen hard started on me. Never once have I had an issue with flow. It's just a really awesome pen. So I'll do a little writing sample here. So I've got the Pilot. This is medium. And I've got Sailor. Manyo, Kikyo here, which is it's like a royal blue. It's a nice color. It's a little bit darker than Pilot blue, a little bit lighter than like Diamine blue, blue velvet. It's a good color. It's got decent shading. This paper I'm using, this is Papermine B7 Tranix paper. This paper tends to put down a pretty thick line, so this medium is not really a very accurate representation of the true width, and I'll just do one here too. See the difference in that paper? This is campus paper on the left here, this grid paper. It's pretty cool. Now this B7 Tranix paper, it does, like I said, it puts down a much thicker line, but it's super smooth. I actually messaged, this company's owned by Blake from Blake's Broadcast on YouTube. I like his videos. I think he does a good job. He's got a really cool collection, but I actually sent him a message, just told him, dude, this paper is amazing. Like, it's really, really fun to write with. I've filled probably about a third of it just with a bunch of random nonsense. But so yeah, that's the Pilot Custom A23. Again, I think it's the perfect pen for most people. It's good for the office, fits in any pocket. It's fairly expensive, but you can find them on Pen Swap for right around 200 bucks pretty easily. I have the Amber model. I've had this pen for a little over a year now. It was my first kind of, nice gold nib pen that I bought myself. And it's perfect. I mean, I really, really enjoy using it. I use it every day. I take it with me well, I don't really have an office anymore. I have a co-work station I go to, but I take it with me to that. It's just really nice. So that's the Custom 823. All right, the next pen, take a little sip here. Next pen is my Pilot Custom Urushi. Now this is, it's a big boy. See the size comparison. Yeah, it's a big boy. I'll say it's super comfortable. Uncapped, it's about 25 grams, so not too much heavier than the 823, honestly. You don't really notice a difference when you're holding them. The nib is significantly larger. It's the Pilot number 30 nib. Two-tone nib, 18 karat gold, so it's much softer. I'll talk about that. And it's just it's just a much girthier pen, a little bit longer. And while the 823 has the kind of classic cigar shape you see on like the Sailor 1911, wrong cap, Sailor 1911 and Mont Blancs and whatnot. This is more of the Sailor Pro Gear kind of shape with the flat cap. It's gorgeous. It's a hefty cap. I mean, not heavy, but just a big cap. Kind of looks a little goofy, but anyways, the Custom Urushi. This is ebonite body. You've got layers of Urushi lacquer over the ebonite body. People talk about Urushi lacquer and say it's very warm to the touch and noticeable. I've never really noticed that. Maybe I'll notice it more as we get into the colder months, but it does feel very, very nice in the hand. Grip section, it's just, better than the 823. It's just, it's girthier, which is good for me. I've got big hands. A little bit more flared at the end. You need that with a pen this size and a nib this size. Filling system, probably my only complaint with this pen is you've got the Con 70 converter. I like the Con 70 converter a lot. It's the best converter on the market, I think. Just so easy. Just push that button, submerge the ink, push that button, wait till you can kind of feel a little bit more pressure, less bubbles, and you've got a full fill. And I think it's super easy to clean too. People complain about that as well, but I don't know. I think it's really easy to clean. You just turn it upside down and put water in it and just keep shaking it. So the Con 70, I don't have a problem with at all. The Con 70 ink capacity is like 1.1, 1.2 milliliters, which for a nib this size and this wet and a pen this size, I think can probably do a little bit better than that. I mean, they put a piston fill in on the Heritage 92. They put a vac filler, or they put a eyedropper fill on some of their their larger Namiki pens. I think you could probably get away with finding out a way to eyedropper this. Not me, but Pilot could, and it would just add to it. But that's really my only complaint. So the nib on this is, let's write first. And I have this in a fine medium. And we are using Robert Oster Great Southern Ocean. Which is one of my top 3 or 4 inks. I'd say top ink is Diamine, Oxford Blue. Let's see, another one is Platinum Blue Black. I really only use blues. I like Pilot Blue a lot. I like this Robert Oster, Great Southern Ocean. It's a really cool color. It's like, I don't know, it's a dark blue black, but there's a little bit of like, I call it maybe like ocean green, which is probably why it's called Great Southern Ocean. It looks like it's the color that you would expect if you're like on Deadliest Catch and kind of looking out. It's probably the color of the ocean. Anyways, so this nib is just really unique. I don't have anything else like it in my collection. Probably closest to the M1000. Again, let me do one over here too, so you can see the difference in the fine medium. On this campus paper that is not quite as saturated. So this nib is very, very, it's not flexy, but it's very soft, very bouncy. You really don't have to put a lot of pressure. You're not supposed to put a lot of pressure. The pen just does the work for you. I mean, it's really expressive, but it's precise enough at the fine medium to be able to use in kind of everyday use. It's more fun than the 823. It's maybe a little bit more feedback than the 823 medium, but it is a little. It's more expressive. You get more shading. You kind of, you really have to take your time writing with this nib. And it's not very good for printing because of the softness of it. But if you write in script like I do, I just think it's a really cool and unique nib. The pen itself, I really like the size of this. I think it's a good happy medium between the 823 and the pen that I'm going to show next. This still fits into a pocket. It might stick out a little bit if you have tiny pockets on your shirts, but it's not heavy. I mean, it's like not unwieldy, despite the size of it. It's like, it fits in most pen pouches or pen cases, so you don't have to get something unique or specially sized for it, like the next pen I'm going to talk about. And it's just a really cool color. I mean, I like the black model too. Had to get the Prussian blue. It's just, I don't know, just think it's gorgeous. But anyways, the Custom Urushi is not for, you can use it for everyday writing, but if I had to pick one for everyday writing, I'd pick the 823. This one, I'm glad I have it because it is more fun to write with, and it's fun to write cards or letters, or just like I said, I fill up half these things with just nonsense. Just fun to sit in my recliner, have a glass of whiskey, and just write with my Custom Urushi. So that's that pen, and we'll take a little breather here and talk about the next one. All right, next pen here. This is my True Grail pen. I have been wanting one of these for quite a while. I made quite a bit of trades, sold quite a bit of pens, got myself back down to my goal of 5, and I picked up this Namiki Emperor used. This thing is enormous. But it's not heavy. It's huge, but it's not heavy. I mean, let me do a comparison in size between these two. The Urushi, Custom Urushi, and the, if I can get that to focus. There we go. It's significantly bigger. We'll do a caps off comparison here. And then to the A23, it's a little bit comical. But it is super sweet. You've got, comes in about 30 grams uncapped and uninked. Got a ebonite body, an ebonite grip section. Obviously this is the Urushi lacquer all throughout. You've got Urushi lacquer on the grip section, unlike the Custom Urushi, which is a plastic grip section. Forgot to mention that. And you've got an ebonite feed with Urushi lacquer on the feed. So this feed is bright red. I believe the black model of this pen has a black feed. But this, I mean, this thing is just amazing. It's awesome to write with. It's awesome to look at. The nib is so huge. I mean, that's the Custom Urushi number 30 nib on the left. And that nib is a little bit larger than a Mont Blanc 149. Pelican M1000's a little bit longer, but it's narrower, but they're about the same size. And then you've got the Namiki, which is the Namiki's number 50 nib, just dwarfs it. That doesn't make it, the size of the nib is not what makes a pen better. Size does matter a little bit, but it's just the way that this is tuned and the way it's designed and the way it writes is so unique and just kind of a little bit trippy when you're writing with it. So anyways, grip section, maybe a little bit wider than the Custom Urushi grip section here. Maybe a little bit wider. About the same length, more of a flare, and it's more of a sharp flare as opposed to the Urushi, which is more of a kind of a gradual flare and more rounded. The Namiki Emperor is a little bit sharper. I find it very, very comfortable to hold. Like I said, it's not that heavy. I mean, it's maybe a couple grams heavier than the Custom Urushi, maybe about 10 grams heavier than the 823, which is a very light pen. So it kind of throws you off a bit because you expect this to be so heavy and unwieldy, and it is really long, but it's not heavy. One thing I think is kind of funny is that Namiki puts a felt cap liner so that presumably you could post this and not scratch the Urushi lacquer. But if you posted this pen, it looks about like a 3 wood, so I would not ever do that. And well, I won't go into that yet. So filling system, we've got a eyedropper filler. We've got just great tolerances here on the blind cap. You can barely see the seam at all, even when you're looking close up. And basically what you do is you just unscrew the nib unit, hold the pen upright. I like to unscrew the blind cap as well, pull it down, and you can get, I think it's 6 milliliters of ink in here, which will, last you a very, very long time. Again, I wish the Custom Urushi had that feature, that filling system, but it doesn't. So when you're writing, it's the same as the 823. You've got an O-ring seal here, and it's not, well, I guess it is an O-ring, but it's not not the same design as the 823, but you've got this rod here that I don't fully understand the function of the rod. I get, you unscrew it to release the seal on the chamber and the feed or the section. I don't know why you can pull it out. Like I don't know what utility that is. I haven't been able to find that anywhere, but there is there's got to be some reason for it. But otherwise, you can unscrew this as you're writing, and you notice that the pen is wetter when it's unscrewed. Whereas the 823, it doesn't make it wetter by just unscrewing the blind cap, in my opinion at least. So nib characteristics, we've got, as large as this is also 18 karat gold. So it's soft, but it's not nearly as soft and as bouncy as the Custom Urushi. It's actually pretty firm. So we'll do I have this in a medium, and I have graph Faber-Castell Royal Blue. I really like Graphon Faber-Castell inks. They're a little bit drier, so if you have a wetter pen, it's a really great combo. I like to use Faber-Castell inks in my M1000. Just kind of tone it down a little bit. So this nib is, like I said, it's pretty precise. I mean, it's honestly, I think it's a little bit thinner. The line is a little bit thinner than the 823. It could just be the inks. I mean, like I said, this is a drier ink. Sailor ink's a little bit wetter. Let me do this on here as well. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a nail by any means. I mean, it's still pretty soft, but it's very precise. I mean, this is an everyday writing pen. You can use this for anything. You're a little bit prohibited from using it for everything and taking it everywhere because of the size of it. It doesn't fit in any pocket, doesn't fit in any shirt pocket. It's just huge. And also it's such a, I mean, it's an expensive pen, especially if you buy it new. I bought this used and like I said, I got a good deal on it because I was able to make quite a few trades to acquire it. But I wouldn't necessarily take this in public. I think, I don't really care what people think, but I also do care a little bit. And I think if you pulled this out at a brewery or at a bar and wrote down something in a notebook, I think everybody would think you were kind of a D-bag. But for writing at home, it's awesome. So the Namiki Emperor, it's I don't think I showed the comparison between the Namiki 50 nib and the Pilot number 15 nib. So let me show that. It was funny, I remember when I got my 823, and I think the only pens I had at the time, I had a Diplomat Arrow with a number 6 Jovo nib, and I had a Lamy 2000, and I had a Jinhao. And I remember thinking that the Pilot 823 number 15 nib was enormous in comparison. And it's really about the same size as the Jovo number 6, but in my head I kind of built it up. And it's just funny that how you can scale up your collection and just always kind of searching for that next big thing, literally. So let me just talk about the use cases I have for these pens. So my everyday carry pen is typically my 823 and my Custom Urushi, or my Custom Urushi. I typically have one of those two on me. Sometimes M1000. It's more of a weekender pen. I don't print that often, but if I'm printing, I'm using something like a Lamy 2000, or I'm using the 823. My favorite to write with of these is the Namiki Emperor. It's so unique. Just it's so smooth. It's so precise. It's just really, really awesome experience. If you ever get a chance, whether it's at a pen show or a pen club, or you're ever in upstate South Carolina and want to check it out, you should take advantage of it. Just write with it. If you write with it, you'll want one. I am curious how the writing experience between the Namiki Yukari, which is the number 15 nib as well, how that compares to the 823. Because I'm an 823 loyalist. I don't really think you get much better than that. You just get different than that. And different can be good. It can also be, 823 will, I think if you have one, it'll always have a spot in your collection. It'll always be in your regular rotation. The Custom Urushi, it's more of the fun pen. Really cool to have. It's not necessarily a need, it's not a necessity, but it is really, really fun. And I'm glad I have it. I won't sell it. Whereas the Namiki Emperor is, I think, a really good practical everyday pen for everyday writing at home. Not necessarily one that you would bring with you anywhere, but so I'm a little bit conflicted because I don't really have a favorite. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the video, they all have different roles in my collection. And if I only had these three pilots, I'd be perfectly content. Not because the Mont Blanc 149 I have is not awesome, not because the Lamy 2000 doesn't have utility and I think it's an awesome design, not because the M1000 isn't awesome in its own right. The nib is super unique. It's even different than it's different than any of these three here. But if I only had these three pens, I'd be set for life. You don't need anything else. And if I only had one, I only had to pick one pen to own for a lifetime, assuming that it doesn't break or shatter, because it is resin after all, but I would say the 823. 823 would be the one pen I would, if I only had one, because it just serves every purpose that you could want. And it's cool that it's the cheapest of the three by a good margin if you're buying them new. So let me see if I have anything else I wanted to talk about. I guess comparisons to other brands. So I had a Sailor King of Pen for about a week, and really just I bought it used. I figured I wanted to try the King of Pen nib. Everybody raves about it. Figured I could sell it pretty easily if I didn't like it or if I didn't want to keep it. And I did. I sold it, got about what I paid for it, and it was worth it just to try it out. And the nib is really cool. It's awesome. It's that unique Sailor feedback, especially on the King of Pen nib. That's 18 karat gold and a little bit softer than the like the 1911 regular size or the Pro Gear regular size. So it is a really cool nib. But Sailor, I don't understand why they put those little crappy converters in their flagship top model pen. It makes no sense to me. They can do a piston filler. I mean, that wouldn't be that hard. They do it on the Rialo. So I don't understand why they don't do it on the King of Pen. It's kind of like if you had like an RC car or a golf cart and you just put a really shitty battery in it and it lasted like, an hour. It's like, okay, why? Why not why not do spend a little bit more money, charge a little bit more, do a better battery. So I don't really understand that about the Sailor King of Pen. The converter, and they only sell it in medium and broad. So if you've got a really wet medium nib or a really wet broad nib, you're going to run through that converter in a couple hours. So I don't get that. I sold it mainly out of principle. I'm like, well, and also because I get good feedback with the Custom Urushi, and I get honestly what I think is a better nib with the Custom Urushi for a similar size. Custom Urushi is a little bit bigger, but so you know, and that's a converter too, but it's a better converter than the Sailor one, and it's a fine medium, so it lasts me a little bit longer. But so I'd say Pilot and Namiki are far and away my preference to a Sailor. I've had two Sailors. I've had the smaller 1911, and I've had the King of Pen. Both of them I sold fairly quickly, if that tells you anything. Pelican, I think the Pelican M1000 is really cool. I think the nib is really unique. I have it in an extra fine. Problem with Pelican is that there really is no nib size for you if you like a finer line. You know, their extra fine writes more like a Pilot medium. So if that's too broad for you, there's really no M1000 size you can get unless you had it worked on. What are some other brands? Lamy. Pilot beats Lamy by a million miles on every model. I mean, Lamy doesn't, I wouldn't say they really have a flagship. Probably their 2000 is the flagship, but I mean, all these three Pilot models, they're more expensive than the Lamy 2000, but they beat it. I've never used a Custom 92 Heritage Pilot, which is in the same price range as the Lamy 2000 new, but so I've never used that, so I can't really compare those, but I'd say if I was a betting man, the Pilot would beat that. So in summary, Pilot is the best brand, best fountain pen brand. And the extension of that is the Namiki, which is like Pilot's Lexus to Pilot's Toyota. So I don't know. I think I'm just a Pilot guy. I don't see how you can get any better than these three pens. I mean, if you don't need all three, you only really need one. You want this one. And if you get this one, you're going to be blown away. And you're going to want it, you're going to keep it, you're going to baby it, you're going to buy a special sized pen case for it because nothing else holds it to keep it safe and protected. You're going to keep it in a gun safe like I do when you're not at the house. So that kind of wraps up what I have to talk about. Love the comments, love the questions. If anybody has any, feel free to put that in there and I will address them. And I'm not doing much tonight, so maybe if you watch this tonight and you want to talk pens, shoot me a message. One pen that is on my list that I want to try is the Graf von Faber-Castell Classic. I have seen one in person. I went to Trufe, which is a really, honestly, a pretty awesome fountain pen store and resource here that we have in Greenville. I have a gripe with them right now. I'm kind of on the outs. So if they see this, I'm happy to explain. But I am. They have a nice little Graf von Faber-Castell display, and they have a lot of the models and some of the Pen of the Year models. And I wanted to see the Classic because it looks really small in YouTube videos, and the nib is a number 5 nib. So I saw one, held it, not super blown away by the size. Don't know how much I would like it, but I do want to try one. So if anybody has a Graf von Faber-Castell Classic and wants to give me their input, I'd be happy to hear that as well. I've heard the nibs are awesome, but you know, it's a they're expensive. It's a converter. It's a number 5 nib. How good can it be, really? And would it replace any of these? I doubt it. So probably not going to get one, but I would like to try it at least. So that is, yeah, that's all I got to talk about tonight. Hope everybody has a good Saturday night, and Yankees are out of the playoffs, so You know, playoffs are kind of boring now, MLB playoffs. I tend to hold out on football season until the World Series is over, but if it's a West Coast World Series, which is looking that way, or even if it's Blue Jays Dodgers, I'm not really interested in that. As a baseball junkie, that's hard for me to admit, but I hate the Blue Jays and I hate the Dodgers. So hopefully the Mariners win, so at least there's a good guy to cheer for. But anywho, I've said goodbye several times now, but I'll say goodbye finally, and thank you for watching. See you next time.